Carney's immigration reduction plan undermined by inaccurate counts of temporary residents, economists say. Prime Minister Mark Carney has pledged to reduce the number of temporary residents in Canada to sustainable levels, aiming to ease pressure on housing and public services. However, experts warn that this goal may be unachievable without addressing serious gaps in how Canada tracks and counts non-permanent residents. If you are interested in this topic, please pay attention and watch the video through to the end to get all the information. Please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to push the notification bell for an upcoming video. Prime Minister Mark Carney has pledged to reduce the number of non-permanent residents in Canada to sustainable levels, aiming to ease pressure on the housing market, public infrastructure, and essential social services. His goal is to lower the proportion of international students and temporary foreign workers to below 5% of Canada's population by the end of 2027. This ambitious target marks a sharp reduction from the recent high of 7.3%. However, leading economists and immigration experts caution that such goals may remain little more than symbolic unless major changes are made to the way Canada accounts for and tracks its non-permanent residents. Carney's 2027 cap, a target that looks better on paper. At his first press conference following the federal election, Prime Minister Carney reiterated his support for previously established immigration thresholds. These include the capping of international students and temporary foreign workers to below 5% of the total population. The approach mirrors a framework set out by former Immigration Minister Mark Miller, who sought to realign immigration levels to address strains on public infrastructure and resources. Carney emphasized the intention behind this policy shift: it's a sharp drop from the recent high of 7.3%. This will help ease strains on housing, public infrastructure, and social services. The problem of undercounting, a hidden population. One of the primary concerns raised by economists is the persistent undercounting of non-permanent residents in Canada. According to the most recent estimates from Statistics Canada, there are just over 3 million non-permanent residents in the country. This group includes international students, individuals on work permits, asylum seekers, and family members of those with study or work authorization. But experts say the real number may be significantly higher. Economists argue that the government overestimates the number of temporary residents who leave Canada after their visas expire. This assumption skews population estimates and leads to underplanning in key sectors such as housing, healthcare, and transportation. Experts sound the alarm on policy planning. Benjamin Tal, deputy chief economist at CIBC, warned that accurate population statistics are critical for effective policy planning. The undercounting of non-permanent residents is an issue that must be addressed in order for this policy to be effective, Tal said. Henry Lowton, a former federal economist and the founder of Integrated Trade and Economics, echoed these sentiments. He explained that Statistics Canada presumes visa holders leave the country within 120 days of their permits expiring. We know that many, perhaps even half, of these expired visa holders are awaiting permanent residency or a renewal of their temporary visa, Lowton said. Without accurate data, federal and provincial governments risk underestimating the demand for housing and services. Policymakers and planners need accurate population estimates to plan adequate housing, infrastructure, healthcare, and other social services. No one plans for population you are told you do not have, Lowton added. Uncounted migrants and the reality of temporary status. Last year, Mark Miller estimated that Canada may have as many as 600,000 undocumented migrants. These individuals, who reside in Canada without legal status, are entirely absent from official statistics and thus invisible to policymakers. This large shadow population further complicates the government's attempt to forecast and manage demand for resources and services. An analysis published recently by Benjamin Tal, with input from Henry Lowton, also raised concerns that individuals on extended temporary resident visas, who do not hold valid work or study permits, are not being counted. These TRVs are typically issued to those who are awaiting the renewal of their visas or a decision on their permanent residency applications. In some cases, applicants remain in limbo for years. Immigration targets for 2025 to 2027, ambitious but problematic. The Canadian government's 2025 to 2027 immigration levels plan lays out firm targets for temporary residents: 673,650 in 2025, 516,600 in 2026, and 543,600 in 2027. These numbers are designed to align with the 5% population cap that Prime Minister Carney is aiming for. However, without addressing the inaccuracies in how non-permanent residents are counted, critics argue that these targets may not lead to the intended outcome. A numeric cap that fails to reflect the true size of the temporary population may give a false sense of progress. Legal voices suggest tougher enforcement. Immigration lawyer Richard Kurland proposed a blunt solution to reduce the number of non-permanent residents: stop granting extensions on expired visas. People get temporary status for a certain period of time. Just tell people that they will not be able to stay here in Canada any longer than that, he said. Statistics Canada defends its methodology. Statistics Canada, in a statement, stood by the integrity of its demographic estimates. The agency noted that it had recently gained access to entry and exit data from the Canada Border Services Agency, which may enhance the accuracy of future population counts. These data notably provide information of departure from the country. Furthermore, Statistics Canada clarified that its estimates do consider individuals whose permits have expired but who are currently in the process of renewing them. These individuals are still counted based on IRCC's published permit processing times. Migrant advocates call for a rights-based approach. While the government's focus is primarily on numbers, some advocacy groups are calling for a shift in perspective. Syed Hassan, spokesperson for the Migrant Rights Network, urged the government to look beyond caps and consider the lived experiences and rights of migrants. He said that a return to discussions about creating a pathway to permanent residency for undocumented migrants was long overdue. Before the federal election, Mark Miller paused plans to develop a regularization program for undocumented individuals. Instead, he suggested that certain categories of undocumented residents could be offered a pathway to permanency. Hassan believes that without such a program, the country risks continuing to ignore a significant and vulnerable segment of its population. IRCC's strategy to hit the 5% reduction. Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada remains committed to the 5% cap goal and has introduced a range of measures to help meet the target. These include caps on international student admissions and stricter eligibility requirements for temporary foreign worker programs. Matthew Krupovich, a spokesman for IRCC, stated, "Temporary residents admitted to Canada are expected to comply with the terms of their visitor, work, or study permit, and must leave Canada at the end of their authorized period of stay." He added, the 5% reduction to the temporary residence population will be achieved through IRCC's multiple TR reduction measures, which include international student caps and tightened eligibility requirements for temporary foreign workers. We are continuing to monitor the effectiveness of our TR reduction measures to help stay on track to meet the projected reduction. That is all for today, in this video. What are your thoughts on this? Please let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching the entire video. Hopefully, the information is useful to you. See you later, in the next video. Till then, take care.